Thank you very much, Terry, for that sobering report. Questions or comments for Terry? Anyone? Yeah, just ask. Yes, go ahead.
Terry, I wonder. So I was asking Terry about there was a food mail program that provided subsidies to mail food into the far north and to other difficult to reach parts of Canada. And then my understanding is the Conservative government removed that program and replaced it with another. I can't remember the name of it, and I'm just wondering what the experience has been with that in Inuit communities.
Well, the food mill program or the subsidy program to have food from southern Canada shipped up north and to sort of augment the cost of shipping north and buying those types of foods. The name of it really has been changed to the Nutrition North program, and that was to encourage Inuit to buy foods that are nutritious outside of the country food that's available. The jury's still out on whether or not that's working. I understand the federal initiative, but as people down here know, whenever the federal system tries to get involved with what types of food you need to eat, then there's usually public outcry, and I'll have my sodium, thank you. But that's the thing, is that Inuit in Arctic Canada need to take advantage of it, but there's very little means or ways of taking advantage of that type of program based on the fact that the poverty levels are so high. And I'll give you an example. In one of the northern communities of Sanikiloaq, we have local stores. They have the main store, then they have the convenience store. And I just happened to ask the manager of that store how business was. And he sort of put his head down and started shaking his head and suggested that the convenience store was making more money than the main store. And what was in that convenience store? Soda pop, chips, chocolate bars. So there was a lot of money being made from that. And how do we get our population to actually start, choosing the right types of food is I think one main question that's sort of attached to that, and how we can get sort of turn around or sort of head off at the pass the rearing of its ugly head, diabetes, and how that's going to become a major issue in the north, and how we can bring about more nutritional decisions towards what it is that you put in your mouth.
Presentation. About a year ago, there was a UN representative in Canada discussing food security and food insecurity. And what I recall is that there was a federal minister, I think it was the federal health minister, who in response made comments that I think a lot of people found dismissive vis-a-vis the UN representative statements about food insecurity in Canada's north. Could you maybe respond to those comments? And I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly what she said, but I don't want to misconstrue it. But.
Yeah, I remember her response. It was somewhat dismissive, but at the same time, there was some truth behind that dismissive statement. And basically, what she told the UN rapporteur was that you can't be placing your opinions on an area where you've never visited, and that what threatens the food security of Northerners are animal rights activists. There's some elements of truth to that. As part of my job representing the Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami, a large part of my time has been spent on defending the polar bear hunt. Because right now, globally, there's pressures from animal rights groups to stop the trade of polar bear and its pelt. When you consider the seal ban, for example, in the 70s, Inuit communities were very healthy, very, very self-reliant, and were able to augment the cost of harvesting seals through the sale of the pelt. But all of a sudden, that market was decimated based on the U.S. ban. And again, it wasn't based on any facts. It was based on people's heartstrings and the judgment of the cruelty to that hunt. Fast forward to now, we're facing the same issue with the polar bear. Climate change is being used as the reasoning behind putting towards a proposal of stopping the hunt. But again, Inuit reliance on the little income that is derived from the sale of the pelt is again working towards decimating that reliance and the self-reliance on being able to hunt the polar bear based on, again, untruths. Whereas within the Canadian system, the management of the polar bear with the Inuit and government has been very beneficial to the polar bear population, to the conservation of the bear. 2/3 of the world global population is in Canada, and the populations have increased. But again, it's the animal rights activists that are trying to dictate and judge what we eat. Where in Canada's Arctic, as I said, we have very little choice and means for income. So there is that element of truth into it as well. And at the same time, we encourage the UN Rapporteur or anyone else that is going to develop any policy or suggest any change, that they come up north and see the realities and work with that.
Thank you. And question from Diana, and then I think after that we'll move on to our next speaker.
I actually just wanted to comment on the issue of the special rapporteur also coming to Canada, just to put that in a bit of context. It's true that Olivier Descouteurs did not go north of 60 when he came to Canada. He did go to northern Alberta and northern Manitoba, and he did visit with remote communities and a number of Aboriginal communities. The primary reason, I think, why he did not go north of 60 was financial, and it's related to the cost of food and the cost of getting there. He had a team of 3 people working with him. He works in a voluntary capacity. He's not paid for his job as a special rapporteur, and any funds that he raises for his assistants who work with him and help him write his reports are scraped together. They're not highfalutin UN salaries. And so it would have cost them over $10,000 to go north for a few days, and they decided to receive electronic communications and speak with people in Ottawa and other communities in that regard. But with regard to Leona Aglacook's comments that called him patronizing and ill-informed and so on, first of all, he never did anything to associate himself with any animal rights activists who would be condemning the seal or the polar bear hunt. Quite the contrary, in his preliminary report, he did defend country foods as an essential part of reaching food security. I guess I'll have an opportunity to talk a little bit more about his report, because on March 4th this year, he will formally present that report to the United Nations in Geneva. And we will be hosting, Food Secure Canada will be hosting an interactive webinar with him so that people will have a chance to talk directly with him about his findings. And we really hope that the Government of Canada will not have the same dismissive attitude that it did last year, which was really very, very unfortunate and unprecedented in terms of the treatment that a UN official received. Canada is a signatory to the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. It is therefore bound to submit itself to UN investigations. He was here at the invitation of the Government of Canada, who facilitated meetings, as did we facilitate meetings, as did the AFN facilitate meetings. We tried to make sure that he would meet a maximum number of people. And I think, on the heels of Canada withdrawing from the Kyoto Protocol and what that has done to Canada's reputation in terms of our commitment to UN treaties and what our signature is worth, should give us some reason for pause, because were we to treat the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights as we treat the Protocol on Climate Change, that'll be very, very serious indeed. We are amongst the first and longest standing signatories of that convention. It comes from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which I'm sure you all know was drafted, amongst others, by a Canadian, John Humphrey. And it's quite shocking to think what would happen if Olivier de Schuiter's report is dismissed in the same way on March 4th when he presents it to the United Nations as it was in the press theater here in Ottawa last May.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.